They call him Johnny Rock and Roll. They call him Johnny Rock and Roll. They call him Johnny Rock and Roll. He gets you hot if you're cold.
Listen all day and all night.
Eat the steak and then get a pen.
Oh, gnarly!
Hey everybody out there in Radio Land, Johnny Rock here, and you're tuned in to Johnny Rock and Roll Radio. As most of you know, February is known as the month of love. And while the 14th may be a time to tell those on 2 feet how much they mean to us, February 20th, pet owners all over the nation will be celebrating National Love Your Pet Day. This pet holiday is set aside as a virtual Valentine to the friendships we form with the members of our fur family. Today, our special guest is author and photographer Johanna Siegmann. Johanna will be releasing a book on February 20th called In Good Company. It's a book that features a multitude of well-known personalities photographed with their furry loved ones, and some not so furry. Welcome to Johnny Rock and Roll Radio, Johanna. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. What a great intro. Love it. Yes. Hi.
Hello. So before we talk about your book, which I've gotten a little peek at,
Yeah.
and I love. I wish I could have gotten there. But I'm not as well known as most of those personalities there. You got a long list of them. But first, tell everybody a little bit about this holiday. This is actually the first time I've heard of it.
Well, we wanted to release the book in February, and we didn't feel that Valentine's Day was the right day because it's not. This is about people and their pets, not people with their other people. And we found that there is this national holiday. It's Love Your Pet Day, and we said, well, what could be better than that? So that is the date that we chose to release this day because I think the love that I show these are not your typical pet portraits. These are relationship photos. They're almost voyeuristic about how people and their pets show their loves for each other. And so we wanted to honor that love in this book by releasing it on the date that honors that specific type of love.
So the book will be released on the 20th, which is National Love Your Pet
Love
Day.
Your Pet Day, yes.
Okay, and when did National Love Your Pet Day begin? How did that start?
I could actually get on Google right now for you if you want it, but I don't know. I don't know what the history is of it or when it became a national holiday. Personally, I think every day is Love Your Pet Day, and I think that that should be you should get time off for going to Love Your Pet on Love Your Pet Day. But I don't know the history of it. Sorry.
Yeah, so I noticed it says national. So I wonder if other countries celebrate it or not, or recognize it because it should be worldwide. I mean, Valentine's Day is worldwide, and we're heard in 174 countries.
Oh,
so
awesome! And the book is available globally. Yeah.
Are German shepherds speak? Do they speak German? French poodles speak French. I don't know.
Right. Lhasa Apsos speak Lhasa. I don't know. You're absolutely. It's a great question. I don't know.
Again, ask Google.
Yeah. But I do not have a factual answer for you about the provenance of this. I believe that people celebrate their love for their pets globally in some way or another, but I don't know if it's organized in any particular way or on a calendar somewhere. It is a globally shared thing, this love for our pets. So
now let me ask you this: do you have any pets?
I do not anymore. I used to have pets a long time ago. My last pet was a cat. I'm a cat person. I love all animals, but in terms of cat dog people, I'm a cat person. I find they keep you very, very honest. Dogs will love you no matter what. Cats are like, I don't know about you, you know.
Right,
Um,
right.
uh, but when my last cat died, it destroyed me. I'm one of these people that is very, very much involved in energetic stuff. You know, I tend to experience physically the energy of things and people and animals very, very deeply, and I'm very sensitive to it. And when my last cat died, I honestly thought it was the end of me. It took me months to stop crying and years to stop having dreams that I'd forgot to feed him, or that I'd abandoned him, or I went on vacation and didn't get anybody to care for him. So so that combined with the fact that I do a lot of traveling as well, um, it doesn't it doesn't lend itself as a good home for a pet. I believe that we need to honor our pets better than just, okay, I'm home, give me love, okay, I'm leaving, goodbye. You know, it's it's a relationship, and I think when people say that their animals have bad behaviors, I think that's part of it. I think that's part of the reason as well. They get
Right.
abandoned, you know.
The difference between cats and dogs, like
Yeah.
when you leave, a cat will just kind of get into stuff and do whatever they want, you know, just chill out. Whereas a dog, they get anxiety
Yeah.
and they'll literally tear things apart. I mean, you come home and the couch will just be demolished. And
Oh,
which,
cats will pee and stuff. They'll do stuff. They'll let you. Cats will let you know they're angry. You cannot avoid the gaze of a cat, of an angry cat.
really,
So
okay,
yeah, yeah. But again, you know, it's um, that's just my feeling about it. I certainly don't want to project my beliefs on anybody else, but that's why I don't have pets now.
right, right. A good friend of mine, Scott Inez, who's the voice of Scooby Doo,
Oh, awesome.
and a Great Dane,
Uh huh.
looks just like Scooby, and of course
Does
his
he?
name is Scooby. He's always posting just hilarious photos because you know I find that large dogs think that they're small,
Absolutely.
and small.
Absolutely.
Mm,
Isn't it funny? Yeah, talk about body dysmorphia. My goodness. So,
yeah.
yeah.
So how did the idea come up for you to photograph uh, pet owners with their pets? And did you go specifically for celebrities, or just you started? How did it
No,
start?
it started very innocuously, as a matter of fact. I took up photography, even though I've had an interest in photography my whole life. I didn't really get serious about it as a photographer until 2007, in the aftermath of breast cancer. I was a writer and a performer and all that sort of stuff before then, but the chemo changed how my brain worked. And I realized I couldn't hold the thread of words. My words, I couldn't relate to words anymore. And I rediscovered photography because I realized that if I could picture it in my head, I could make it happen in real life. And I could remember a single image. I could remember the story in a single image. So one day, a friend of mine asked me to do. I was still tooling around trying to figure out, what kind of photography I like, because there's a million different types of photography. And she had me come over to do her headshots. And when we were wrapping up, she her aged dog came in, really ancient dog, and he kind of plopped himself down at her feet, and she said, "Oh, hey, listen, can you take a picture of me and my dog, because I don't think he's going to be around much longer." And I said, "Sure, no problem." So she's in her chair and he's on the ground, and he couldn't he couldn't sit up. He was in too much pain. So I wasn't getting anything interesting. I said, "Why don't you get down on the floor with him?" So she did, and as she got down on the floor, all of a sudden that energy between them happened, and I mean, I could feel it, I could see it in my camera, and I'm like, the clouds parted, the angels sang, and I'm like, oh my god, I need to do more of this, whatever this is. And that picture itself is nothing special at all. It's just someone sitting next to their dog. But it made me realize that there was a whole other dimension that existed between the animal and a human that was far more interesting than them just sitting next to each other. Even though those portraits are really beautiful, that it wasn't interesting to me to do that. It was interesting for me to try and capture those. It's almost like voyeuristic photography. Those moments that people are doing the things they always do with their dogs that show each other how much they love each other.
Yeah, well, the picture that just came to mind was the Ed Asner
Yeah.
and his dog. I mean, what was going on there?
Well, Ed Asner is a titan in the industry. More awards than anybody. He's just so awarded. And the idea I had for him, he said to me that he had gotten Dudley because he needed a pal. And so I said, well, how about if we do a setup where you're coming home from yet another award ceremony, you're in your tux, you just need to have a late night, stogie, a drink, and hang out with your pal. He goes, let's do it. So we did it, and that was he knew exactly what I was going for, and that's why it turned out like that. It's just here I am with my pal, my cigar.
Well, they both look like they have the same personality.
Yeah,
And
well, I didn't know Dudley that well, but yeah, but they definitely have a resemblance. Physical,
well,
if not emotional.
that's what I was going to say too. Resemblance.
Yeah.
I've seen so many pictures of people with their pets,
Hmm.
and they actually look alike.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't know how that happens.
It
Uh,
does happen. I think maybe in the world at large, I don't know what the percent of people, but I did not find that I've been doing this for 12 years now, and it's only occasionally that we'll get a pairing where they start to look like each other.
uh,
And that is clearly, one one of one of the most. And of course, what other kind of dog would he have had except the bulldog, right?
right, right. So, how many photo sessions did you do before you came up with the idea for the book? I mean, did
Well, so shortly after that first, my epiphany, um, I went out intentionally to start shooting people with their pets. And from the first time I showed, the first picture I did was it's not in the book. It's a man with a chicken, and he when I showed this photo, the first reaction is, "You need to do a book of these." That was 12 years ago, and no, 10, 12 years ago. Now I'm losing track of time. Anyway, um, and every time I share the images, that has been the response. So it wasn't until about maybe 5 or 6 years ago that I started to take it seriously, to consider doing this a book. And it's taken this long because it's the scheduling that takes forever. It's,
oh yeah,
when you deal with people at this level, they have crazy schedules. And some of them, it took 9 months to schedule because, they had a trip, they had a project, and that's wonderful. But in terms of being able to hit a deadline for a book, I couldn't, I couldn't start on the book until I had enough pictures to be in the book because of scheduling. Because if I needed five more and it would take another 10 months and my deadline was next month, it would not have been possible.
right. It's funny how a lot of times when I'm talking to someone, or especially in interviews, they'll give me the answer to the next question. But wait, well, that just happens to be my next question. How
Wait,
many
I am psychic too, by the way. No, I'm kidding.
are you?
No.
Which, I know Dee Wallace is playing in a series where she plays a psychic.
She
That
often plays a psychic. She is an actual channel in real life as well. So um, she's a very spiritually, energetically. We share a lot of the same philosophies in terms of energy and visualization, law of attraction, all of that sort of stuff. Yeah.
She certainly had a relationship with Cujo, that's for sure.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. She told me some stories about the making of Cujo that were just great.
I bet. In fact, I heard a story about where, and I wonder if this happens too when um, people are posing or acting something out, because the animal doesn't know if you're acting or not.
Right.
They're gonna sense, and if you're a good actor, uh, somebody, people are gonna feel your emotions. Then that's what you want. You want them to feel, so that maybe you don't even have to talk.
Yeah.
You know, a facial expression or an action. Um, so I think, especially with a big dog like Cujo, if you're acting out and they get scared or sense your emotion, it could backfire.
Yeah.
Uh, but one of the things that keeps coming into my mind is about which is the spirituality, because a dog, I think just about any animal can sense your emotions.
Yeah.
If you're sad, I know I actually had to rehome uh, a dog that I had because I was going through very bad PTSD and depression, and
Mm-hmm.
he was so sad, you know,
Mm.
so bad for him, and he's like, he wanted me to rub his belly. I'm like, dude, rub my belly, man.
Yeah.
He was just so sad. And I knew that, and then all the pictures and he was a little bitty. He was a little bitty, little bitty dog, and all the pictures that I had of him, you just see it. But he was so loving, and like you said, a dog will love you no matter what,
Yeah.
no matter what. Even if it's really sad, because even if you're mean to them,
Yeah.
when you come back, then it's like it never happened.
Exactly. Yeah.
Now,
Well, that's what you touched about something that's really important in my work. Like I mentioned, the whole energetic thing. One of the things that I do when I come up with these concepts, I do it before we schedule the shoot, and I get a lot of information, including the temperament of the dog and what they like to do together, so that I can come up with something that's specific to that relationship. So I never try and do something that is not already in the pet's life. They're not performing for me, they're just being themselves. And when I arrive, my first order of business is to try and calibrate my own energy to match theirs. I never impose because I want them to be them. I don't want them to try and please me. So you just be you with your human, so that I can just take a picture of that, right? That's the intention. And um, I, in all the years that I've been doing this, there've only been like a handful where the pet seemed uncomfortable, and eventually it worked out. But um, it really is. If the pet is not into it, we can't do the shoot. It's as simple as that. The pet really needs to be comfortable and be themselves for this to be successful, because the last thing that I want to do is cause stress. And the animal basically calls the shots. If they're done, they're bored, they walk away, we're done. Whether I have, animals don't think in terms of projects or moments or solutions or anything like that. They're in the moment. They're always genuine. They don't have ego, so they don't have to. They want to please their owners because of love, because that's it's for many reasons, including food and affection. Um, it's like, oh, this is fun, like squirrel. Okay, I'm done. And that's it. And you're done. So shooting dogs is the easiest thing, but also the most challenging, because I'll get 30 seconds most of the time, and that's
yeah.
it. And they get bored, and then we're done. And we have to do something else.
What happens for me a lot of times, like with our cat, I'll see him in an interesting pose or doing something, like, oh, I grab my phone real quick to get the
Hmm.
picture. As soon as I get ready to snap it, they move.
Uh huh.
You know, they know you're about to take a picture, and they're like, I ain't having that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know. So uh, name some of the names for us that are in your book that are your
In your
photograph.
book? So when I chose the word notable for a reason, because while some of the people, everybody in the book is notable, but not all the people are famous. So they're not all household names like Ed Asner and stuff like that. But these are all people from a wide range of fields that in their field, they're top of the heap. You know, these are people who have accomplished great amounts in their, like, for example, one of them is, and so most people have never heard his name is Arcadio Poveda, and he's a Mexican astronomer who was one of the people who helped discover the Chubut crater that led to the extinction of dinosaurs.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I photographed the former First Lady of Mexico is in there. There's a bunch of jazz people like Lorraine Feather. She's a composer, singer, arranger. We've got Broadway stars like Raisa Katona Bennett. Um, we've got actors like Ed Begley Jr., Francis Fisher, Ed Asner. So there's a lot. There's a lot of really amazing. Dave Koz from music, saxophonist. The incredible Cuban trumpet legend Arturo. Oh my God! Now I can't even remember his name. Arturo Salazar. Yes.
So what is when I was thinking ahead of time of some of the questions that I wanted to ask you about these photo shoots,
Hmm.
and one of the things that I think our listeners like to hear are stories.
Hmm.
Uh, so, like, what is the funniest? First, what's the funniest thing that ever happened uh, between yourself and a photographer and an animal?
Something funny happens in every shoot. It's when you work with animals. But okay, so one of them, uh, trumpeter Bill Peterson, has two little wire-haired terriers that look like Asta from the Thin Man series,
Okay.
and the male one, Nick, he called him Nick. Nick would not be in front of the camera. It was the hardest time getting to photograph him. He refused. So what I was doing one setup with Bill and Nora, they're drinking a martini together, and I'm squatting on the ground, and Nick comes over and starts licking in my ear as I'm squatting. So it was very hard, very hard to shoot while you have a dog licking your ear. Um, when I shot with Adam Schiff, the image is the floor is covered with tennis balls, which I had sent ahead of time. 50 tennis balls in that room, and Mia was so excited. She ran in there. She was kicking the tennis balls everywhere. So I did have an assistant there because it was a labor intensive setup. So so we spent a lot of time just rearranging the tennis balls in there as well. Um, the I did a shoot with Ron King, who used to be this media personality for Time Inc. And
Okay.
he now has a donkey rescue up in Northern California. And when I was there, I had all these baby donkeys coming. I was trying to capture a picture of him, and I'd get surrounded by baby donkeys, and I'm trying to shoot around baby donkeys, and they're all like sniffing at me. One started nibbling at me, so it's always an adventure. I've had all three P's. I've been peed on, pooed on, and puked on. I've been shed on. I was like, oh, if you give up nice clothes for being a pet photographer.
There you go. You just answered another one of my questions.
It's
So,
like,
so that has happened.
yeah.
Okay. Out of curiosity, is Burt Ward in your book?
No, no. Do you have a connection? Set me up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Well, him and his wife have a dog rescue,
Uh huh.
uh, and they actually have a dog food company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So and the sales from the dog food goes to
The rescue.
support the dog rescue. Yeah.
That's
Uh,
awesome. Yeah,
eh,
and yes, I'm going to anticipate your next question. Yes, we are working on more books of
okay.
I'm looking for this to be a series like notable sports figures and their notable athletes and their pets, notable dancers and their pet, notable musicians. You know, I think that that might be a really nice series, and also I might release a book of my work till now with people that just everyday people with pets, because so many of those they're so beautiful. It's not just me saying it. People
Yeah,
look like all these years, people go, you've got to put this in a book. So maybe I'll do that as well.
right. And then we'll have to hook you up with John Schneider, Bo Duke, who's got several
Yeah,
dogs on
there,
it.
there are, there
You
are
know,
tons and tons of people who have pets that are, and that's, that is, you had mentioned the dog rescue, and this I am donating a percent of my profits to the Apex Protection Project. I've been doing these a couple of days now. I'm getting the hang of it.
yeah,
and
yeah.
they
Tell
are a
patient.
501c3 that is they work to rescue, protect, and advocate for wolves and wolf dogs. And I chose this project because it was with one choice you can make a big change in the ecosystem. And the clearest example is Yellowstone. And Yellowstone, after they completely eradicated wolves from the park, and the park started to die, and they couldn't figure out what the herds of animals were getting overpopulated and resulting in weak and sick animals. The prairies were drying up because the beavers were damming up every creek in sight. Um, you know, flowers weren't blooming because nothing was it was getting dry, and they reintroduced wolves, and within a year, it completely transformed the park again. I really felt that even supporting this one small uh, nonprofit, this one small charity, could have such a lasting impact in a much larger ecosystem. And that's my feeling about this book is I'm hoping that these images of people expressing their love towards another sentient being is something that maybe seeds the viewers and people who buy the book into living from that place of love, that if you believe in the law of attraction, you receive what you put out, right? So um, if you operate from a place of love and generosity and giving, that is what will come back to you. And if you operate from a place of anger and resentment and hostility, that's what will come back to you. That has been true in my life. I know that a lot of people live by that credo. So there you have it.
There you go. And how many different pets have you photographed? So you know dogs, cats. You mentioned.
What kinds of animals? Okay, so let's see. I've done chickens, ducks, goats, sheep, horses, bearded dragons, snakes, donkeys, cats and dogs. I think that's it. If anybody has a pet cow, or if anybody has a pet skunk, or rats. I have a rats. Rats are awesome. Ducks are awesome. All animals are awesome. I love all the animals.
What I was going to ask you that. Is there any animal that you're afraid of?
I'm not going to say because then somebody's going to want to have a picture taken
Oh,
with it.
uh,
I'm terrified of spiders. So anybody with a tarantula pet, um, if for some reason I was somehow bamboozled into doing it, I might get a 1,000 millimeter lens and shoot from across the county. I'm not,
that's
um,
that's. Uh,
but nothing else. Bugs in general. I'm not a big bug person. And even though I know several people who have tarantula pets, and they're going, but they're great. I'm like, I'm sure they are. I just don't want to. And I always go to people's homes because that's where the energy is. That's where their toys are. That's where the wardrobe and stuff is. And I would most decidedly not have a tarantula in my studio, because if for some reason it got loose, I'd have to burn the building down.
Uh, yeah. Well, I just lost my train of thought when you said burn the building down.
So
Uh,
sorry. And I don't mean that literally. Okay. I'm not an arsonist.
oh yeah. What about pet rocks? Do those count? Because I have a pet rock. I don't have it with me right now. I put them out in the garden because I'm hoping it'll grow into a statue.
Add water.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, Probably not, if only because the rock can't love you back. And I may be wrong. There may be rocks that are sentient. I don't mean to imply that all rocks are just dumb, but probably not. But interestingly enough, when I was being hooked up with people on the East Coast for my East Coast tour last year, somebody asked me if I would photograph someone whose pet had passed. And my initial reaction was, well, how's that supposed to work? These are people with their pets and the pet's dead, And then I thought, you know what? Love doesn't die. Especially, I mean, I still think of my pet cat and I still have dreams about him. And I thought, well, I don't want this book to be about that, but I think it's important to include that. So I did do a session with Gregory Toroyan, who is a musical accompanist for many of the great Broadway stars and jazz singers. And his dog Vinny was famous. Vinny had his own IG, account, and he did commercials. And Vinny was a corgi, an absolutely adorable corgi. And when he died, it totally crushed Gregory. And his music studio is sort of like a shrine to Vinny. And I said, okay, let's do this. And I told him what I wanted to do for the image, and it was really the most unique session of all of them, because for one, there was no pet. So he asked if he could have a couple of friends there, and because there was no pet, it was absolutely, so it became kind of like a memorial service, and it was incredibly touching, and the picture is just beautiful and turned out exactly how I envisioned it. But it's unique in so many ways, including that I shot with other people in the room. I always shoot alone because animals are curious, and the more people who are there, the more distractions there are. And because I'm in and out in an hour, from the time I pull up to the time I drive away, it's an hour, and I want to use that time in the best way possible. So the least amount of distractions for the animal, the easier it is for me. It's dogs, especially if I have an assistant, and I've had on a couple of occasions, and even them just shifting weight, the animal will, it's a distraction. So it's hard for me to have an assistant.
I just had a thought. It'd be an interesting segment or a part of the book is the famous animals and their owners, and
that would be a real good twist. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Get me Rin Tin Tin, get me, Lassie, that kind of thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, like the Chihuahua.
Taco Bell.
Chihuahua.
Taco Bell Chihuahua.
Yeah, I think they've had several.
Well, most films, like Eddie on Frasier, that was a whole litter. They actually bred, when they saw that it was going to be a hit, they actually bred puppies to look like Eddie. So all these famous dogs. Lassie, there were like 7 of them. Rint and Tin, there were like 3 of them. So they're all a bunch, Black Beauty, there were a couple of them. All these all these animals. The only one that wasn't, I think, is Trigger, Roy Rogers' Trigger. See, I got into this because I got really
You can still photograph Trigger.
yeah, exactly. You can, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact. Yeah, speaking of taxidermy, yeah.
How can people get this book when it comes out? It's coming out February 20th.
February 20th, which is Love Your Pet Day. So this would make a great gift for someone who, if you know someone who's obsessed with their pet, this would be a great gift. Isn't that awesome?
It just came back to me.
Okay, see, I told you so.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Trigger words. Trigger. We were just talking about Trigger.
Yeah.
See how that works? Trigger,
Yes,
Trigger.
yeah.
And now it's gone again.
Oh,
No,
no.
pet owners, there are pet owners that, and I don't want to use the word obsessed,
They're
but
obsessed. They all fawn over their animals, and they all pull out their phone to show me photos of their animals. And there are certain things that certain commonalities between people who, and I think it's also because here I'm someone who's here to specifically deal with their love object. It's like, I'm interested in your pet. It's not like I'm here to visit you. Oh, and here's the pet. It's like, no, I'm interested in your pet. So I also think that for a lot of people, the love that they receive from their pet, or the relationship that they experience with their pet, is maybe one of few or the only truly genuine love relationship, where they don't feel someone wants something from them. I mean, we all know the pet wants to be fed and wants to be played with, but they're not expecting a promotion or to be cast in the next movie, or there isn't a quid pro quo in the way humans tend to share their affection. And I guess it happens to everybody,
Yeah.
on some level. But the higher up the ladder you go, the more successful you are. I think people start to feel that they don't know whose affection to trust, because is it a quid pro quo situation?
Yeah.
So yeah.
I think one of the most heartbreaking photos that I've gazed upon
Mhm.
is of a pet laying on their owner's grave.
Oh yeah,
It
yeah,
is breaking, and I think they know that they're there.
yeah.
Uh, of course, not in spirit, but they, because their sense of smell is so good and stuff like that. But yeah, that's another thing. Oh, and then one more thing I had an idea too is photographs of animals with their parents. Like a lot of people are interested in genealogy. Like, they go, what breed is he?
Yes.
Well, he's like my dog was he was a mix.
Uh-huh.
His daddy was a bulldog, and
Yeah.
his a Shih Tzu.
Uh-huh.
So he was a bullshit.
That's funny. That is
Yeah,
funny. I don't know that that's a book that I would photograph, but certainly somebody should. Somebody should. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I
Thank
think for me, the attraction, like I said before, is to capture um, that interaction between a people and their pet, regardless of what kind of animal it is, or to take a representation, because I think some animals is like, for example, snakes, reptiles in general, they're not known for expressive behavior or for affection necessarily, but people love having them as pets. So having shot with several snakes now, and I love snakes. I know people are queasy about them, but snakes are just amazing creatures. Um, and it's to find that way, to find the right concept and the right way to express, to represent what that pet means to that person. And that's the other thing I was going to say is when I give, the concept is always prior approval. I never shoot anything that somebody says, no, I don't want to do that. And I would never publish or print or share an image, a final image, and somebody says, oh my God, no, I don't like that. It has never happened. It will never happen because there's so much preparation that goes into it, and the human is involved in every step of this. So their approval goes into it from the beginning. But when I finally present them with the finished image, it's always like, oh my God, this is exactly us. This is perfect. This is that is, I mean, Norman Lear's picture is he couldn't stop thanking me. He sent me an email. His assistant sent me an email. His assistant called me. He called me. They got a print of it. It's hanging outside his office, his home office. Same with Congressman Schiff. I got such a beautiful letter from him expressing how perfectly I captured Mia and their relationship, and they got a print as well. So that's my goal. That is exactly the purpose of this. This is not just, hey, me and my buddy. This is us. This is a genuine moment of us. And like, with the picture behind you of Dee and her dog Freedom, she said, he has all these toys. The only one she really cares about is the ball. And so that's what we did is we caught that moment where she went to the box with all her toys and just brought out the ball. That was it.
Great. I think one of my favorite photos of animals and people are dolphins.
Oh, wow.
Dolphins and people together but one thing, dolphins are always smiling.
Yes.
No matter what, they're always smiling.
Yes. It's built in. It's a feature.
Yeah. And I when I was younger, I always had a fantasy of having a dolphin in the swimming pool, my own swimming pool.
Oh.
And now, what about an alligator? An alligator in Arizona. I'm in Louisiana.
Wow. Yeah.
Well,
I've seen a couple of stories of people. Some guy who rescued. I'm not sure if it was an alligator or a crocodile that it was really sick and dehydrated and emaciated, and this guy nursed it back to health. And this when he was healthy again, he went to release him back, and the alligator just kept coming back to the house. He didn't want to leave. He was happy at the house. So that is the miracle of these interspecies relationships. Is you just never know when people say, "Oh no, you can't have that as a pet," and then it turns out that that's the best pet. It's like donkeys. Like my experience with the donkeys, if I had the land, I'd have donkeys. They're amazing. They're in one of the highest emotional IQs of all animals. They're very emotional. They form very profound bonds with each other and with humans. They're funny. They have individual personalities. It's really amazing.
They can be ornery too.
Well, I discovered, how a horse or a mule can kick you, but if you're behind them, a donkey can kick you in any direction.
Here in Louisiana, famous popular pets are skunks.
Oh, I want to do skunk.
Yeah, you just got to take that gland out.
Yeah.
They have that taken out, and then armadillos, Nutra. No, not Nutra. I'm sorry. Nutra's you know what Nutra is?
The otters.
Yeah, it's like a rat.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think, in fact, I think that's my spirit animal. But raccoons are very, very popular. Raccoons.
Have to come and do a southern tour with people with all those animals. If you set that up for me, I'll come on down there and shoot with everybody who has otters and
Bayous right there, and oh yeah.
I have never been to Louisiana, so you and I are talking for many reasons here.
In fact, I used to have a pet crawfish.
Really?
Yeah. Well, it was sometimes when you catch them, if they're too small, you don't want to, you don't want to boil. You don't want to cook them, because they much work. A little bitty piece,
Yeah. Oh, by the way, chickens. Got to add chickens to the list of animals that I've photographed.
Yeah, you mentioned chickens.
I did mention. Okay.
I think the pet that I've had the most of in my life are cockatiels.
Oh, really?
Cockatiels,
yeah.
Great personality.
Did I say parrots?
I've never had a parrot.
No,
before.
did I mention parrots?
No.
Okay, so I've done parrots too. I've done macaw. I've done cockatiel, cockatoo. What are these last two? African gray twice. And a very rare one called a lesser vesa, which looks like a Muppet, honestly.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know what the name of it was, And then they got that one that goes in like a ball.
That's an armadillo.
No, not that one. This is like almost looks like a porcupine almost.
Hedgehog. I've done hedgehog. I did a hedgehog.
When it opens up, it's got the cutest little face, and it's got like a smile. A smile. It's like this. I want to thank you so much for being on Johnny Rock and Roll Radio. You've truly been a pleasure to talk to.
Oh, thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Tell everybody how they can reach you as far as social media.
Yeah.
And then tell us how they can get the book again.
Yeah, I do have a website. It's johannasigmann.com. I'm Johanna Siegmann Photography on Facebook. I'm Supertographer on Instagram. The publisher is going to have a page on me, I think, as well. But the book is in good company. It's available at any online bookseller globally. It will be available to be shipped anywhere in the world. And the publication date is February 20th, which is Love Your Pet Day. We will be offering it as well as an ebook, because I think photo books tend to be pricier than your average, novel or whatever. And I think this message of love that I want to resonate throughout the world, I want to plant the seed. I don't want price to be an obstacle in being able to get that. So it will be in both print form and in ebook form. Do you have Ed's picture up can you put Ed's picture up behind you to show people what Ed's picture could look like? Or is that too hard to change? Oh, there you go. There you go.
Yeah, so that's hilarious.
Yeah. There you go.
It would what's the dog's name?
Dudley.
Dudley. Now, if Dudley would have had a cigar in his mouth, that would have even been hilarious.
Well, I could Photoshop one in, but
well, he reminds me of the painting of the dogs gambling.
Playing poker. Yeah. This is after they won.
That's great.
Yeah.
I would thank you so much for being on Johnny Rock and Roll Radio one more time, and then one more time mention the organization at this the sales benefit.
The charity that proceeds will be going to is called Apex Protection Project, and they are a 501c3 who are advocating, rescuing, and educating everyone about wolves and wolf dogs. They're amazing. Right. Amazing.
There we go. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. Thank you. Bye, everybody.